All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our Future Women's Leadership Forum. I know, unfortunately, we've had to shift the focus of this event just a little bit and kind of shift our platform, but we are thankful to you all for being flexible and joining us on our virtual platform. As you may notice, we don't have our high schoolers in attendance with us today, but we still wanted to provide this opportunity as a chance to connect with each other and just have some great personal and professional development time and hopefully foster some rich discussion and some great just community time. So I'm going to kick it off by introducing our first two presenters, and then we will get started. So we have Nickey Buzek. She is a public relations strategist, and she is going to be presenting our Representing You session along with Adriana Vivas. And she is a content creator, design geek, and communications graduate. So we are very thankful to both of them for being willing to present with us today and shift their workshop to a virtual setting. So from here, as long as you two are ready, I'm going to go ahead and let you two take it away.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
All right. Let me know. Give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Woo! Okay, we're doing great in this online virtual thing so far. All righty, friends. So like she said, we're going to be representing you today in our session. And really the goal of this session is to give you the tools to continue toward your success in a professional world, but also in a digital world. And this does have to do with this space and time right now, but it also goes beyond this time. Especially, we were just talking about that Missouri just announced that they're becoming open next week. So this happens for you here, this happens for you afterwards, it just gives you the tools that you need. So I know she already introduced us, but I did want to give a little bit more background on each of us to just kind of like let you know who your gal pals are today and who you're talking to. So Adriana, if you want to kick us off.
For sure, yeah. Hi, everybody. Like she said, I am a content creator. I have a huge love for design, and I'm currently a communications graduate student. So obviously graduation has been moved, so I'll be graduating in August, but I'm super excited to be here and talking with you guys.
And then as for myself, I'm Nickey Buzek, and I work for a company called Ad Astra in Overland Park, Kansas. And the entire goal of our company is to help students graduate faster in the higher education space. So we help institutions optimize their course schedule, optimize their spaces. And my position on that team is to make sure that our brand is out there. So complete brand awareness, everything from social media to webinars to podcasts, the whole gamut. And so with that, during my daytime, I do that, but then at night, I'm also a professional development enthusiast. So I really enjoy helping people find their potential in their careers, and I also do freelance public relations and marketing work as well. And before we get started, we do want to take this time to say thank you to each of you for being here. We know that today would have been the day that high schoolers would have gotten off the bus and been really nervous, and then by the end of the day, been like, I'm a whole new woman. I can tackle my career. And we know that that's all possible because of each of you. So thank you for being here and inspiring the next group of women leaders. But also thank you to the sponsors who make this possible. Each of these listed here have really contributed in a way that helps us do what we can do for the next generation. So we're just really appreciative of each of you and each of them as well. And then also thank you to Junior Achievement, because Junior Achievement rocks, JA for life. So what we're going to be talking about today is just how to keep driving toward professional success. In each of these areas, we're going to focus on self-advocating, leading in a digital age, personal branding, and social media. So each of these, we want to give you some action items and some tools to actually help you with each of these. But we also want to make this kind of conversational. So if you have any questions as we go, please don't hesitate to speak up or just stop us like, hey, I have an extra question on that, or can we dive deeper there? We would love to do each of those, because at the end of the day, this is for your benefit, but also for the benefit of the young women that you know in your life that you're trying to encourage to get on that professional track with you. So first things first, we're all in the same boat. We're all at our house right now. Some of you are outside, which I'm super jealous of, but most of us are in our house, in our space. As you can tell, this is like my work area. So I'm like, okay, this is my whiteboard area. This is my computer area. I'm at home right now, but I'm working. And even though the waves are choppy and we have no idea what's coming next, we are rowing in the right direction just by being on this webinar, just by looking for ways to advance in our career and to help others. You're rowing in the right direction and you're doing a wonderful job. And I feel like not very many people are hearing that often enough. So you're doing great. So another thing to kind of back that up, because statistics always make you feel better. So Indeed did a research project that shared that 70% of people have experienced imposter syndrome at some point. So a lot of us, it's really difficult for us to gauge how well we're doing in our job right now, or just kind of like in our social groups, or in whatever area you gauge your success in. It's hard for us to gauge what we're actually doing or how well we're doing, but don't let imposter syndrome get to you. Again, you're doing a great job and you're rowing in the right direction. So to start off with, self-care and self-advocating. So we put this slide first because it really gives you the foundation for all the stuff that we're going to be talking about afterwards. If you're not taking care of your workspace, of your mental health, of your mental space, then it's going to be really difficult to build anything as far as a personal brand or professional brand, because you're just not centered with yourself. So we want to give you the tools that you need to be centered with yourself and to make sure that you are taking care and advocating for yourself first and foremost. So first things first, secure your workspace, especially right now. So if you're at home and you've got kids roaming around, or you are in your own house and you don't have kids roaming around, whatever it may be, you really want to secure one space in the area, one space or area in your house that you're going to work in consistently. So for me, I consider this my office. So I have my whiteboard set up. Like I said, I have a little jar of pins, and it literally means nothing to anyone else but me. I'm like, if this jar of pins is here, that means I'm working here. So you guys can't come in this space because this is my workspace. So just having that kind of visual cue and that atmosphere of, hey, right now I'm working. And that way, whenever you get up and you're not working anymore, you leave that space to itself, and then you can go and be in the rest of the house. You really want to have that separation between workspace and at home time. So along with that, you also want to create a routine. So before going into quarantine or the stay-at-home order, a lot of us had a routine where we went to Starbucks and got coffee before we went to the office, or we sat in our car and scrolled through our social media before we walked in. We each had these little nuances and little routines that we did that kind of got lost in the shuffle as we moved into a stay-at-home order or working somewhere that we're not used to working. So we want to make sure that we're creating those routines to get our minds geared up for the workday. And that can be anything from taking a walk around the block, to journaling in the morning, to just sitting in silence on your porch if you want to. Whatever it may be, just make sure that you're still giving yourself that time to gear up for your day. And it's really going to help you in your productivity, but also in your mental space to say, okay, now I'm ready to work. And then another thing that I think a lot of women need to hear is to save the apologies during this time. So I can't tell you how many calls I've been on that someone said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, it's take your kid to work day. Or, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, there's a dog in the background. And these are sales calls, these are Zoom meetings, whatever it is, they're saying these things. And I'm like, we're all in the same boat, you know? Like my fiance will come storming in the room and give me food in the middle of a meeting, and I can do nothing about it because he's a man of his own. So we're all in the same boat, save the apologies. And a good way to do that is to kind of flip it back and say, instead of saying sorry, you can say something to the effect of, I know you understand, because you know they understand. So there's really no point to just kind of like put yourself back in that position. So save the apologies, but also take care of business and then walk away. So when you are in your workspace and you created your routine and you're not saying sorry, you want to make sure that you take care of business. And when 5 o'clock rolls around, or whatever time you get off work, shut down that workspace and walk away. Don't visit that area of the house that you've deemed as your workspace for the rest of the day, because you're not working anymore. Just because we're working from the home does not mean that it's a 24-hour work day. So really take the time to shut down and give yourself a break from what you're doing or what you're focused on. And then, like I said, we want to make sure that this is a takeaway for each of you. We want to make sure that you're actually getting something out of this today. So action item or a challenge is to lock down your workspace this week. Decide what area of the house you're going to be working in and just kind of make it official. Put a jar of pins on there if you need to, but make it official. So I always tell people it's not a presentation unless you have a really encouraging quote. So our really encouraging quote today is leadership is an action, not a position. So we can still continue on our journey toward leadership, toward success, even if we don't have an official title or we're not sitting in the same area that we were in with our team. It's an action, not a position. So how can we make leadership actionable during this time? Digitally. So first things first is to write your to-do list. And again, it sounds so basic. We're going back to the very, very minimum, but writing a to-do list during this time has been exponentially helpful for myself and also my team at Ad Astra. So to give you backstory, on my team at Ad Astra, I work on a team of 4 other women. So there's 5 of us, and we are a hive mind because we work in such a creative space. So because we were a hive mind, we sat in one room, there were no barriers in the office, and all of a sudden we were placed behind a screen and couldn't talk to each other, like just saying, hey, what do you think about this? It was really difficult for us to stay on the same page without knowing what each person was working on. So write your to-do list, but also share it with your teammates. Say, hey, everyone, this is what I have planned for the day. Let me know if there are any projects or priorities that I haven't prioritized today that I need to be working on. So that's a really good way for you guys to stay on the same page and making sure that each of you are doing what you need to be doing. And you can do this by saying, these are my top 5 priorities that I will accomplish today. And these are my 3 top priorities that I want to make progress on today. And even if you don't get everything done in that list, you're still, again, rowing in the right direction because you know the direction that you and your team are going. Then you also want to structure your meetings. So before we would have like 15, 30-minute meetings with people. Hey, let me just stop by your office and talk about something. Well, now we're inundated in our inbox, in our emails, in our direct message. There's so many notifications and communications coming from everywhere that we want to make sure that we're being structured and really have a direction for each of the meetings that we're having. So by this, I mean, write your agenda beforehand, but again, share it with each person that's supposed to be attending that meeting beforehand and say, hey, everyone, this is the agenda that I have for today. If you think something's missing or you'd like to add something, please let me know beforehand so that we have a roadmap going into this meeting. So that's going to cut your 1-hour meeting down to 30 minutes, which that's wonderful because you're on Zoom, which is a mirror and a window at the same time. So you don't really get as much of a draining time being on your Zoom call. And then when it comes to sending those communications about your agenda, you want to be clear and you want to be concise, but you also want to be human. So a good rule of practice is if you have a ton of information, you're talking about everything from spreadsheets to the next meeting that we're going to have, you have a ton of information. Best practice is to say, okay, here are the bullet point 5 things that you need to know about this email that I'm sending you. Here's a link to a document that has the rest of it. So it's just kind of like a refresher. If I open my email and say, okay, wow, I don't need to read paragraphs on paragraphs, but if I click that link, then I can go and access that document or save it to my computer or just know what's going on. But again, you also want to be human. So at the end of that email or at the beginning of that email, you can still be human. Have fun with it, guys. Like you can say something like, I know you've got your pet next to you, or I know you've got your dog next to you. Make sure to like pet them for me or something like that. Just making sure that you're still being human and being conversational during this time, even though we're having to do it through a different communication method than we were before. And then my last one, my favorite one, follow up or fall short. So I was actually listening to a keynote speaker a while back, and he was talking about the importance of following up after a meeting. And he said, and I quote, I can't tell you how many promotions I've gotten strictly because I've taken better notes than someone else. And I was like, okay, like say no more. I'm going to be writing notes from now on. So whenever you're having those meetings, you're already in front of your computer. Pull up another window and just take notes. And then whenever you get done with your meeting, copy and paste that into an email and say, hey, these are the action items that I gathered from our meeting. Are we on the same page with each other? Are we going in the right direction? If not, please let me know. So that keeps you accountable. It keeps your counterpart accountable, but also it just makes sure that you're on the same page in this digital space when a lot of communication can fall through the cracks. To follow up or fall short. And then your action item for this slide is to send a follow-up email after each of your meetings this week. And I know you're like, listen, woman, you don't know how many meetings I have. That's a lot of follow-up emails. Trust me, I do. I have at least 2 meetings every day, and the most amount of meetings I've ever had was like 8 meetings in a day. But after each one of them, giving yourself that time to send off that email is going to keep you organized, them organized, and all of your projects moving in the right direction. So your challenge is to send a follow-up email this week. So this organization does not really come, it can come pen and paper. And if you can do this type of organization pen and paper, my hat is off to you, because that is a really creative process that I'm not necessarily the best at. So what I use for keeping myself organized is Airtable. And I swear by Airtable, my team uses Airtable, but the best part about it is that it's completely free. So think of Airtable as an Excel spreadsheet, but a glorified Excel spreadsheet. So you can have everything from a multiple choice select option, you can have a single select drop down, you can also share the view that you created with your teammate or with your husband or with your cousin, whoever it is, you can share it with them. And you can also collaborate with others on here. So you can watch it real time. If you've ever used a Microsoft document, then you can, it's the same way, you can still type on it at the same time. And this is all used personally, can be used professionally, so you can use it for project management, like I have a screenshot here. But on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see different uses for this. So they have templates already designed for you that can cover everything from legal to local business, marketing, product design, publishing, whatever your industry may be. I highly suggest looking into Airtable and seeing the free options. It also has an app, so you can create everything on your desktop and then take it with you on your phone while you're on your walk and you want to be doing different things. Airtable's super cool. I'm off my pedestal. Download Airtable. So I'm going to switch from our leadership and whatnot into our personal branding. But before I do that, is there anything in the leadership category or anything that we talked about that you guys have questions on or want to dive deeper into before we switch to personal branding? I'll just wait a second in case anyone wants to get off mute or anything. And if you don't, that's okay too. Just want to give you the opportunity. And we're also going to have an opportunity to ask questions at the end as well. Okay, cool. We're going to keep going.
Alrighty, so I will take over now and talk about personal branding. So kind of right now, while we are all in this online space, it is a great time for you to take a look at who you are and how you're representing yourself in this online space on social media, as well as your different brand collateral. So we're just suggesting kind of right now, if you have the time, to reevaluate and revamp your look. But at the same time, it's not only about your look, it's also about what you have to say and how the type of content you're putting out to your network, how that's representative of you. But we like to think that it starts out with what we call your brand attributes. So I actually just rebranded my own personal brand since I'm, about to graduate from grad school and I'm looking for jobs. I kind of took a step back and I was like, what I used to use back in undergrad is not really going to work for the kind of industry I'm trying to get into. So I took a step back and I was okay, what do I want my personal brand to reflect about me? So my three were, I wanted my brand to reflect how passionate I am. I wanted it to look sophisticated, and then I wanted it to be creative. So that's something that we are challenging you guys to do. When you get a minute today, the next week, define 3 to 5 of your brand attributes. So things that you like about yourself, but also things that you want others to see in you. All right. So like I said, I just rebranded, and so we are using my rebrand as kind of an example here, but we are going to talk about some brand collateral. And so, back before online portfolios and websites, personal websites became a thing, resume and business cards were kind of your, main source of networking with people, and like they can know, what you've done in your career and what you're planning to do with your career. So we have another action item here to just take a look at your resume, how it is right now, and say, okay, whether you're looking for a job right now or whether you are really secure in your career, but, just want to refresh and add some maybe new skills that you've learned at the place that you're working now to your resume, just kind of taking a step back and looking, how can I refresh this and make it look a little bit newer and more representative of the person I am now. And then we have your business card. So again, these are kind of like that first impression that people get of you whenever you are networking, obviously in a more physical public space. So can't necessarily do that right now in this online space that we're in, but hopefully when all this is over, you can come out of this with a new personal brand look and some really awesome business cards. So moving on to this online space, your online portfolio and your website. We're going to dive in a little bit more on the next slide about how like our different platforms you can use, as well as, you know, what industries really do need a online portfolio, and some, you know, you could have one if you're just trying to represent yourself. But if you're an entrepreneur or if you are in any type of creative industry, it's really awesome to have an online portfolio. And then a little bit later on, we're going to dive into social media and how you can reflect your new personal brand across all of your socials. Okay, so diving into this online portfolio and website. This is kind of if you just really want to take your personal brand to the next level. We have a list here of, obviously this is not an all-inclusive list. I'm just kind of off the top of our heads thinking of some really great industries or different career choices that you would need a personal online portfolio. So you can take a look at that list, but again, if you feel like you could really represent yourself well in the online space, I suggest using either Wix or Squarespace. Those are the two that I have personally found to be the most user-friendly. They have definitely like the most, I would say, modern looking, you know, like ways to use the platform, as well as just look overall. For mine, so you can see mine to the left, I use Wix for my personal one, but if I was an entrepreneur and I wanted to sell products or provide different services on my website, I would probably lean more towards Squarespace. Just in my experience, they have a lot more to offer for those entrepreneurs, and different things like, you know, people can order from your website, or people can interact with you kind of in a more like in a deeper way on Squarespace than they can necessarily on Wix. Okay, so diving into those socials. Social media, that is what both Nickey and I, our undergrad was in public relations, and so we would like to think we know our fair share about social media, but we're going to kind of highlight these first three and maintaining a professional presence on the first three: Facebook, Snapchat, and TikTok. Now, obviously TikTok is it's pretty recent for the most part, just kind of it's gained, you know, it's been trending recently with all of the different videos. I'm sure a lot of you have seen those around. But TikTok, since it is so new, we're not necessarily, you know, sure how can you create a professional presence on TikTok. So if you know how to do that, just send me a message or an email and let's like have a virtual happy hour or get lunch sometime, because I want to know what a professional TikTok is for sure. Same for Snapchat. Snapchat is a very personal social media platform, so kind of being professional on that doesn't really work so well. And Facebook. For us, we think that Facebook is definitely meant to interact with your friends and your family. If you have a business and you want to maintain that professional presence on Facebook for your business, makes total sense. But for your personal brand, it's just kind of nice to keep Facebook for friends and family and for communicating and engaging with them. So we're going to focus on Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and kind of teach you like a few tips and tricks on how to level up on each of these platforms. All right, but the first thing that we want to take a look at before we dive into the platforms is being purposeful with your social media. So it's a good idea to ask yourself these three questions before you're kind of deciding how do you want to represent yourself on socials. So first thinking, why do you have the social media account? What is the purpose of it? How are you using it to your greatest advantage? Second, who is your audience and how are you engaging with them? It's really important that your social media, whenever you're having a conversation, it can't just be one-sided. Social media should hardly ever be a one-sided conversation because, you know, obviously social's in the name, so it's really meant to engage with those who are trying to connect with you. That goes for almost all platforms, I would say, especially your LinkedIn for sure. If someone's, you know, telling you happy birthday, or somebody's telling you, hey, that's awesome that you got a great new job, you want to interact with them. And then lastly, what are your goals? So social media, you know, if you're not being purposeful with it, it's just kind of, you know, extra. And then talking in a professional, like from a professional standpoint, your personal, post what you want, have fun with it. But from a professional standpoint, it's really a good idea to outline some goals that are reflective of you and your personal brand. So leveling up on Instagram. Instagram, I would say, is it's probably become the most popular social media platform, probably for, you know, the time and that we're living in now. So some different tips that you can do to level up on your Instagram is refresh your bio. This is actually something I need to do and I haven't done yet, but it's a good idea to revamp your bio with something new. So, you know, if you made a career change, or if you are rebranding your personal brand, it's good that your bio is reflective of that, because as soon as somebody goes to your Instagram, they're going to want to know about you and they're going to read the bio. Before they even dive into the content, it's going to be about your bio. So just making sure that that's new and fresh and updated is a really good practice. Second, aesthetic, which we're going to talk about a little bit more on the next slide, but your aesthetic is very important because it is how people will, when they want to connect with you, they're going to look at your content, but it's a very visual aspect to your Instagram. So looking at the way your pictures and your videos and your graphics kind of flow together, that is your aesthetic. And like I said, I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. The great thing about Instagram are these stories, and stories are really engaging, really fun ways to kind of, it's, you know, a little bit more temporary than a post, where a post is, you know, it's out in the world forever. So a story you can only see for 24 hours. So it's really fun. You get to have a lot of fun and engage with your audience on Instagram stories. And something that we felt the need to say that's super important, and I'll kind of dive into a personal story of mine. At one point, I was so in the social media game that if a post didn't reach a certain number of likes, I would just straight up delete the post, because I just felt like it wasn't adequate enough, or like what I posted just my audience didn't care about. But then I took a step back and I just said, if you're posting what you care about, then that is all that should matter. That is reflective of you. It shouldn't matter the number of likes attached to it. So we just wanted to kind of reiterate that likes do not equal your worth whatsoever. It's just really important to find what you care about, post about it, and then you will attract a network of people that care about what you have to say and care about the kind of content that you're putting out. So here's our action item right here. Revamp your bio with something new. As soon as we're off this call, I'm gonna go revamp my bio, because I definitely need to do that. Add some new emojis if you want. Don't overdo it with the emojis for sure, but add some new emojis and some new words that will reflect those brand attributes. So, you know, earlier we said define 3 to 5. So now kind of take a step back. How can I reflect that in my Instagram bio? Okay, so we were talking a little bit about aesthetic, and we felt it was a good idea to give some awesome examples. These 3 Instagram grids that I have right here, there's some examples, some of my favorite aesthetics that I've seen on Instagram. The top one is for a business, so not necessarily a personal brand. It's for the Museum of Ice Cream in New York. And you can just tell based on looking at their Instagram grid exactly what they're all about. They're all about fun. They're very bright. It's an interactive experience that has to do with ice cream. I've been there before. It's actually a really amazing place. So you can just tell who they are one glance from their Instagram. The one to the right is a really close friend of mine. She is an influencer, but she wasn't always an influencer. She just always kind of had an eye for aesthetic and posting like really cohesive images and graphics. So I chose hers just to kind of give another example of a really awesome aesthetic. And then the bottom left one is from Work Fitness, and they are just a really empowering, exciting, fun fitness program. And you can tell by their Instagram, it's fun. It's you're gonna work hard, but you're gonna enjoy doing it. You can tell from the different videos, tutorials that they put out, as well as the empowering quotes. So the thing about an aesthetic is that it's just totally meant to be visually pleasing. And it is definitely why people will give you a follow and want to connect with you just on first glance at on your Instagram. And it is the flow of the photos from your graphics to your videos, how they're all in cohesion together.
I had to find my unmute button. So LinkedIn. I'm super pumped about LinkedIn because Adriana, I call her my right brain. We do a lot of projects together, and Adriana's the right brain. She's creative. She's got the visually appealing aspects. Whereas mine, I'm like, okay, where are our spreadsheets at? Like, where are our agendas? Like, let's make sure that we're being as structured as we can. And that's why I like LinkedIn, because to me, it feels like more of a structured platform. But there are still ways to level up on LinkedIn. And if you are in the professional space, regardless if you are in the financial space, you're the creative space, you're in the construction workspace, it doesn't matter who you are, LinkedIn has the opportunities to build your network there, especially in an online platform. So if you don't know what LinkedIn is, it is a social media platform that is literally built to help you in your career. So people find jobs in there, people get recruited by LinkedIn. It's solely made to help you out. So if you don't have one, highly encourage you to get one. But if you do have one, here are some tips and tricks on how to vamp up your LinkedIn profile and just kind of level up there so that you're attracting the people that you're wanting to attract, and also building the network that you want to build. So first things first, build a profile worth visiting. And by that, I mean start from the top and work your way to the bottom. So at the top, the first thing someone's going to see when they hit your profile is your cover photo. So your cover photo differs from your personal social media in a sense that you still want to showcase your brand attributes through your cover photo. So for myself, I'm a huge Kansas City enthusiast. So if I wanted to show that I'm a Kansas City enthusiast, that I definitely was celebrating our Kansas City Chiefs win, go Chiefs, then I may have my cover photo be the Kansas City landscape that's lit up in red. So that's kind of a way to start thinking about, like, what do I want to show someone when they're landing on my page? Then another thing is making sure that you have a clear headshot that is just you. So you don't want to have anyone else in that headshot. The thing about your actual photo on LinkedIn is that it will show up whenever you post something, but the majority of the time people are looking at their phones. So you want to make it as clear as you can and as close as you can without being distorted so that you're still visible on those smaller resolution screens. And then working your way down more, a bio. I feel like there are a lot of profiles out there that don't have bios, and it's probably just because people are like, forget it. Like, they can just go look at my attributes that I have down there. And I'm guilty of this because I don't have a bio up, because like, just go look at what I'm doing if you want to know what's going on. But it is best practice to have a bio there. And again, you're reinforcing your attributes. You're saying, hey, I'm Nickey. This is what I care about. Let's stay connected to make sure that we can build something great together. Boom, you have a bio. Then going down the page, the actual meat and content of your profile is pretty much your resume. So if you don't have an online website, you don't have an online portfolio, you can use LinkedIn as a substitute and you're still garnering the connections that you're wanting to garner. So whenever you're building your profile, you can go all the way back to the beginning of your education and say, this is what I did at the beginning of my career, and these are some things that I worked on. So if I go through and I see Molly, I'm going to call on you Molly. So if I see Molly's LinkedIn, I'm going to look at her. I'm like, oh, wow, she used to work at Starbucks back in the day. And then now she's like the VP of Walmart. This is crazy. Like, I can go through and see all the things that she's done throughout her career and say, wow, I think that her attributes from this job 3 years ago could probably help in a position that I want her to be in now. So I'm going to message her and say, hey, would you be interested in a position? So those are the kinds of opportunities that you can bring to yourself if you're building out an adequate LinkedIn profile. And then a part that people kind of skip over are the recommendations at the end. So if you scroll to the end of your LinkedIn profile, you'll see a recommendation portion. And if you don't have recommendations on there, there's an easy way to get them. So again, personal story. I reached out to someone in JA, actually. I reached out and I was like, hey, I would really like a recommendation, and it's not on there because I didn't follow my own practices. So make sure that you follow my practices. Okay, so I reached out and said, hey, could you write a recommendation for me? She's a super busy person. She's got a lot going on, and I knew this going into it. And she's like, yeah, sure. Send me over what you want me to say and I can post it for you. And that was revolutionary to me. I was like, what? You'll just say what I want you to say? This is crazy. And I realized that that's a best practice for getting recommendations. You want to make it easy on the people that you're wanting recommendations from, because the majority of the time, the people you're getting recommendations from are those go-getters, those hard hitters in life that have a lot going on. So you can message them, say, hey, I'd really like a recommendation from you on LinkedIn, and these are the things that I'm wanting it to cover. But if you don't have time, I've labeled out or listed out a recommendation here that you could just copy and paste. So you're making it easy on them, but you're also allowing yourself that opportunity to get a recommendation that someone's going to see. So I go to Sarah's LinkedIn profile and I scroll down to the bottom and I say, wow, she has a recommendation from Barack Obama? That's insane. How did she do that? And he doesn't know that you wrote your own recommendation and it came from someone who actually believes those attributes in you. So that's the benefit there. And then you also want to give recommendations. So if I scroll down to the bottom of someone's profile and I see that they have a lot of recommendations, but they're not giving any recommendations, I'm like, well, where's your team playing spirit? What happened to being a teammate in this world and like helping others along? So you want to make sure that you're giving recommendations. And by that, you can just reach out and say, hey, I noticed that you don't really have any recommendations, or I noticed that we worked on this project together and you did a wonderful job. I'd love to give you a public recognition for that. And by that, I can give you a recommendation. So that's a way to level up on your entire profile. But when it comes to actually posting content, you want to make sure that you're posting purposeful content. So on LinkedIn, a lot of times people will lean solely towards their position or their job that they're currently working at, and they'll just like repost their company's post or something to that effect. But again, you still want to get across your brand attributes. So you can still post about your company, but make sure you're throwing in there your kids, your life, and you can still be professional and still be personal at the same time. So Emily, I hope you have a LinkedIn because I saw your kid running around and I definitely want to go see if they're going to be there because I would love to know that aspect of you. And then also care about what others care about. So if Adriana is on there and she is posting about a organization that she's involved with, or for myself, I'm involved with Junior Achievement and I have been since my undergrad. So I post about junior achievement a lot and I'm pretty abrasive with it. I'll put at the end of my post in all caps, like help your community, like get involved in JA, do it now, do it now. So if someone's posting those types of things, it's best practice to comment on there and your LinkedIn is gonna auto-populate a comment. Like if someone has a new job opportunity, it's gonna say congratulations, and you can just click that. We know you're just clicking the auto-populate, so it's not very sincere. Stop doing that. Send them a direct message and say, hey, Christy, I know that you are hard at work. I know that you've been on your grind for 5 years to get the promotion that you got. So I'm going to send you a message saying, wow, congratulations. I'm really proud of you. And that is something that Christy's going to remember because she's like, wow, you took the time to send me a message. That's so nice. So that's a way to really garner those connections that you care about. And then the last thing is make meaningful connections. My favorite running joke is that LinkedIn is not Facebook from 2001. Stop adding everyone and their mom and the Joe Schmo in the street that you don't know. This is not the place for it. LinkedIn is the place for you to connect with others that you want to draw to you or to draw to your brand. So you want to attract like-minded individuals. You want to attract the speakers that you listen to that you were really encouraged by. And you want to attract those people that have opportunities for you. In a different presentation that I did a long time ago, I had a quote in there that said, figure out what you want to do and make sure the right people know about it. LinkedIn's the place that you want to figure out what you want to do, and it's where you let the right people know about it. So you can have everyone from presidents of companies to nonprofit partners see what you're doing on LinkedIn and give you those opportunities that you're looking for, and it's just a way to keep those connections growing. And again, my favorite thing, 6 degrees of separation. If you haven't heard about it, 6 degrees of separation literally just means that you are connected to everyone in this world through 6 people. Let me give you an example. So Taylor's on here and she's listening to me. We can connect on LinkedIn or whatever we connect on. I know my fiance knows this guy that he knows, and he knows, again, President Obama. He worked in his administration. This is a true story, y'all. So you know President Obama through like 5 people. That's nuts. Use your LinkedIn to its advantage because you can get some really incredible opportunities there. So my action item to you for LinkedIn and to level up on LinkedIn is to direct message 2 of your connections this week. And it can be as simple as, wow, I saw what you're doing. You're doing a great job, to, hey, we haven't caught up in a while. Would love to grab a virtual happy hour, or Missouri is opening up next week so we can go get a coffee from 6 feet away. It's going to be great. So level up on LinkedIn. Those are your tips, ladies. We're going to keep going with Twitter.
All right. That was amazing. Oh my goodness. I learned so much from that. Whew. All right, leveling up on Twitter. So both Nickey and I are, we know Twitter because, like I said, in our undergrad, we studied social media. Twitter, maintaining professional presence on Twitter is very interesting because of just the nature of Twitter. Of course, you know, unless you live under a rock, you know, Twitter is mostly used for political, not mostly, more so like you can find political types of things on Twitter. And it's kind of more in the moment post. So, you know, there's a lot of funny things, people giving their opinions. So maintaining professional presence on Twitter is difficult, but as long as you kind of stick to these, you can do it. As long as you are short, sweet, and to the point, because of course there is a character limit. So if you are trying to tweet about this long story that is, you know, has different characters and whatnot, it's just not going to work unless you thread a tweet. But we want you to just remember that character limit, but also be real and in the moment. We have like down here at our action item, next time that you're at an event, tweet something you learned or enjoyed, and then make sure to tag the organization or the host. That's a super fun way to network and not necessarily go meet the person, but just know, hey, I saw this and I thought it was really awesome, and I'm going to tag you so that people know how great it was. And that's also a really great way to engage in real time with people. So Twitter is super great for just that instant connection. And something that's very, very important about Twitter is that if you're not tweeting about things that you know about, the Twitter world, all of those trolls, they're just probably going to call you out and say, oh no, this is what I know, this is what I heard. So as long as you are drawing attention to the topics that you actually know about, you're tweeting about things that you have knowledge, experience, and you're going to be a-okay, and those trolls aren't going to get you. But being on Twitter is something that if you, depending on who your audience is, it can really up your professional game as well as your personal brand. So just kind of stick to these short, sweet, to the point tweets, and you're going to be okay on Twitter. Okay, so we're just going to summarize kind of everything we've talked about. Obviously, we've thrown quite a bit at you in this presentation, but these are just kind of the few takeaways we want you to have. I'll talk about the first two a little bit. So just the fact that you represent yourself best, only you can define your brand attributes and how you want others to experience you in your personal brand. So just throughout all of this, just know that, you know, when you're, you know, after we're done with this whole online space and going back into the real world, it's just a good idea to take some time for yourself to reevaluate who you are within your career, what you're doing, and could you be doing something better? Or if you're feeling good about it, and if you feel like I have great brand attributes, just kind of, you know, promote yourself a little bit more and, you know, make more connections and, you know, gather a bigger network. Second, you're doing an amazing job. This whole, obviously we're living in the time of COVID-19. This whole thing has just been a whirlwind for everybody. And transitioning to Zoom meetings. I mean, Nickey was talking about, I have like two meetings a day. It's crazy because it's like, okay, it's like Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting. It's a lot to handle because we're just so not used to it. So like we said earlier, we're all in the same boat, but we are all rowing in the right direction because you are doing a great job with the tools that you have right now. You're killing it.
And then to think about the beginning of this presentation, just be sure that you're creating those boundaries. And those are just some easy takeaway tips on how to create those boundaries. And if you are creating those boundaries effectively already, we're here to empower others and to power a younger generation. So if you know someone that is working a lot and they maybe don't have that same structure or they haven't created those boundaries for themselves, I really encourage you to reach out to them and to share these practices with them, especially if they're a younger generation. Because as much as you feel like you're like, okay, this is a whirlwind, I guarantee you the ones who are younger than you or that are just not as experienced as you are, maybe they're the same age or they're older, it doesn't really matter. But just reach out and just say, hey, these are some boundaries I learned, take advantage of them, do what you will with them. And then also communicate those boundaries effectively and clearly. So if you are going to set up your own workspace, but you do have kids running around the house or a fiance playing video games in the background or whatever it is, just make sure that you're communicating that clearly and effectively, as well as throughout your workday. Make sure that you're communicating clearly that what you're working on, and just saving the apologies, but also making sure that each of your team members are on the same page, because you can still be a leader without an official leadership title. And then also use all these things and take advantage of your brand collateral. So if you don't have all the social media that we talked about today, that's okay. I'm assuming that you've had at least one resume in your life. So pull up your resume and go through it. Make sure that you are showcasing your brand attributes, putting those new skills on there that you're learning every single day. And then also make sure that's concise through your social media. Does all of your social media, does all of your resume, does your business card, does everything seem like it's cohesive and that it's one person? Or does it seem like your resume is from 10 years ago, your business cards are from 5 years ago, and your social media is from yesterday? Make sure that each of it is consistent, that you're creating those boundaries, and that you're communicating yourself and your goals and your professional career effectively. And then to look at it through the Future Women's Leadership Forum lens, and how can I communicate this to a high school student that may want to level up in their career too. Again, just encourage them to look at their own social media presence. Is their social media presence representing them in a way that they want to be represented? Are they giving across the same messages that they think they're giving across? And just having those open, honest conversations with them and say, these are how professionals are using the social media in the workplace and in the workspace. So if you want to move toward that, these are some tips and tricks on how to do that. So with that, we just talked for like 45 minutes straight and give you a lot of information. So any questions, comments, concerns? What are you guys thinking? Yeah, Shelly.
Hi. So I just had a question. I wanted to go back to when you talked about the online portfolio and the Wix and the Squarespace. Is that like creating your own online webpage? Or can you just briefly tell me a little bit more about that?
Correct. Yeah. So it essentially is your own webpage, and you can buy your own domain name. For mine, I bought it so it doesn't say Squarespace or wix.myname.com. But the thing about it is that there are places, if you just purely want to have a portfolio, you can, and people will go directly to that website and then they can bring up your portfolio. But people are kind of taking that next step to having their own domain name, their own website. So just their own brand out there kind of in the web.
Okay, so if I do have a domain already, because I'm looking to start doing some of my own things, then I would just go to those websites or those different places, the websites that you told me, and I could create something using their website and then have my domain.
Correct. Yes. Both of them allow you to attach. If you already own it, you can attach your own domain name to any type of website you create, and they have amazing, beautiful, modern templates for you to use. So.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have a question in the chat, Nickey. Do you have any tips for business owners on balancing your personal brand with your company brand? For example, I struggle with how much of my LinkedIn should be me versus sharing my company content, braiding my profile with company content, etc. Would love to hear your perspective on this.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so an easy way to separate your personal and company brand is the 3-2-1 rule. So 3 parts of your social media should be about yourself and your attributes. 2 can be about your company because that's like your everyday life and you're there a lot. And then 1 can be something fun and off the wall that has like nothing to do with anything. You just really enjoy it. So your 3-2-1, make sure the focus is on yourself and then your company and then something cool.
I love that. I actually didn't know that tip, Nickey. Look at you go. That was amazing. To kind of like add on to her, the thing about posting content just anywhere is if it is, like she said, 3-2-1, you're not only posting strictly about your company, you're not only posting strictly about yourself. Mixing it up is what's going to grow your network, because, you know, throughout all of the different social media platforms, there's all these algorithms that are constantly pulling words and stuff to curate what you see on your feed when you're scrolling. So if you're only posting about one thing, you're reaching that network, that audience. So it's really actually best practice to kind of mix in and diversify your content a little bit on all socials, not just LinkedIn, but on all socials. Alrighty, I think that was all in the chat. Anybody else have anything?
Cool. Well, if you are still thinking of questions, or you just want to chat or just stay connected in general, so again, we have to practice what we preach. So here are some ways to connect with us. So Adriana, if you want to cover your connections.
Yeah, so of course I'm on LinkedIn, so please connect with me, send me a message saying that you are from the Junior Achievement Forum, just so I kind of know who you are. And you can follow I'm a freelance graphic designer, so I did give my design account here. I post just kind of fun, cute stuff every once in a while. It might motivate you one day, so if you want to give me a follow, that'd be awesome. And then as well, might have my website on here too. So if you need anything from me, if you have any questions, just either message me on LinkedIn, or you can message me on my website as well, and I will get that and respond to you. But thank you so much for the opportunity to talk with you guys today.
And then as for myself, I'm on LinkedIn because you know how passionate I am about it now. And then if you search Nickey Buzek on LinkedIn, fun fact that we found out while we were putting this presentation together, I'm the only Nickey Buzek in the world with a LinkedIn, so I'm easy to find. I will soon be switching to Nickey Clark in August though, so if you get confused later on down the road, it's because I got married and my name will be Nickey Clark. And then if you want to email me, my email here is nickey@relationspr.com. I do not have my website listed because it's currently going through a rebrand right now, because I'm taking the advice of just kind of like diving back into my personal brand right now and making sure that I'm reflecting myself. But I saw a few of you like taking notes and whatnot on all of these slides. So because you're going through a lot of Zoom meetings, I'm sure you're watching a lot of different Zoom webinars and whatnot. So something that I'm kind of cheat sheeting it with my work right now, because I'm on way too many meetings and way too many webinars and I have too many notes going on, I will just take a screenshot of the slides that are up. So consider doing that if it saves you some time. Who knows? Stay connected with us though. We want to hang out with you guys.
For sure.
And then again, want to give a huge shout out to Junior Achievement, because Junior Achievement is so cool and does so much for our community. It's unreal. And so there are some ways that you can give back and stay connected to Junior Achievement right now. I'm going to pull something up so that I don't mess any of these words up. Okay, so as we know, this forum is supposed to be in person, and if you've ever been a part of the Future Women's Leadership Forum, you know how inspired these young ladies are when they leave, and you can just kind of see their transition from the moment that they get there until the end. And then you can just see whenever they talk about their financial status or their financial situation, or how they haven't really thought about budgeting ever in their life, or their parents haven't talked about it with them, or the list goes on. And then for you to come in and step in and to represent them and to be a mentor in that space is really, really incredible. And we want to make sure that each of these students have the opportunity moving forward for our future events. So there are a couple ways to stay involved. So again, I'm going to read this so I don't mess anything up, so bear with me. Thank you to all of you for joining us today. As you know, this program is designed for teen girls who are looking to all of you to have the courage to share your wisdom. You are a true JA champion and you matter. As we navigate the current challenges young people are facing to get an education and gain access to mentors like you during COVID-19, we thank you for your willingness to share your time today and to take wisdom with you to share with your mentee when we can all safely gather together again. As you know, there's still much to be done for women to gain equality in our society. Many of the barriers to advancement and so many causes of isolation can be traced to the limits put on the lives of women. We are even guilty ourselves of being part of tearing other women down instead of lifting them up. But what we can do to be a part of the solution is that we can give access to education is the pivotal change agent to create opportunities for women. When we have knowledge, we have power. When we have power, we have choice. And when we have choice, we have freedom. So empowered women of Kansas City here today, you give young women choice, inspire them to think beyond what's right in front of them, and boost their confidence so they may see opportunities and equipped to seize opportunities. Side note, there's more to this, but I didn't write this and I'm getting chills. I hope you guys are too. I'm like, ooh, we are empowering people. This is awesome. So today I ask you to pay the gift of your mentorship forward by sponsoring one special young lady to have this opportunity next fall. A gift of $53 will support a young female student in Kansas City with this experience, providing her with the tools to build her confidence and network of cheerleaders in her corner so that 10 or 20 years from now, she can be sitting where you are today, creating an opportunity for the next young woman waiting for someone to believe in her. Oh my gosh, y'all, I'm about to cry. There are thousands of young women right here in Kansas City who are waiting to have this experience, and we need you to make this happen. Sponsor a girl today for $53, and these opportunities will continue, but only with your help. You make this experience possible. So sponsoring a young student is easy. Visit the website, and the link is here. Use that screenshot ability if you want to, or just write it down in your notes. Or Venmo, which is JAKC, with the last 4 digits 7097. And then help ensure KC girls don't miss out on life-changing mentorship from someone like you. And thank you again so much for your generosity and your support for young women in Kansas City. I'm so sentimental. I'm about to cry, y'all. I really appreciate each of you being here and for listening with us. We hope that you stay connected with us, but more importantly, stay connected with Junior Achievement with all the possibilities that they have to offer. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jenny, and thank you all.
Yes, again, thank you so much, Adriana and Nickey, for being with us today. This was wonderful information. I learned so much. I'm sure everyone else did. Thank you so much for being Junior Achievement Champions. We could not be happier that you were able to join us. So thank you again to all of you for hopping on this call today. We do have another session starting at 11. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and end this one. And if you would like to hop on this 11 o'clock call, we would love to see you back for another session with our next speaker, Crystal Everett. So I'm going to go ahead and end this call. But if you want to join us again, just use that same Zoom link for this one. So again, thank you for your time and have a great afternoon.